Hello, Endpoint Pulse community. Welcome to another podcast. This is going to be another successful implementation story from around the globe, but this time it's going to be a little different. We have someone special from Kuwait, and this is going to be somewhat like a day in a life of an IT consultant from Kuwait. So, Aziz, can you introduce yourself to our listeners?
Hi, my name is Aziz Sukhsorwala and I'm an IT professional with 15 plus years of experience. I work as an IT consultant at Burhan Technologies, Kuwait, and I've been associated with Manage Engine for about more than 14 years now.
Thank you. Welcome to our show again, Aziz.
Thank you.
So lovely to have you here
Likewise.
as a guest. Yeah. So how's your experience so far in India?
Well, I am from India actually, so it's not my first time here, and especially not to the partner conference. This is my fourth year. So it's always a pleasure to be here. The hospitality from Manage Engine is amazing, and it's one of the best events that I look forward to throughout the year. I attend several conferences and events for different vendors and products that we provide and service. This is my favorite event, reason being that I get to interact with the core teams, the product teams. They are always open to hear our feedback and our they always work on our requirements, customer requirements. They hear us out, and their response is pretty fast as well. So all this sums up to an excellent experience, and that's why I always look forward to being here.
I'm glad you like it. So for starters, can you tell us a little bit about what your day looks like as an IT consultant in Burhan Tech?
Well, it's not very different from any other IT professional. So as usual, I start my day with looking at my emails, right? So that gives me an idea of how do I plan my step forward for the day. I usually have a lot of meetings that are pre-scheduled, that are aligned for me before my day starts. So I start preparing myself for those meetings. Mainly I'm involved in more of pre-sales and sales related activities. So I look at customer inquiries, customer requirements, what problems are they facing, how do we address them, what kind of solution best fits for them. So accordingly, I meet them, consult them, provide a presentation or a demo if required, align with our sales team to design the entire BOQ or solution, and then the sales team takes it forward from there.
Cool. So, as an IT consultant, again, you mentioned that you've been in this field for almost 14 years. So, how do you think the cybersecurity and endpoint management space has changed in the last few years after the pandemic?
Yeah, after the pandemic, there has been a huge, peak in trend of remote work, as everybody knows, right? So that has really increased the overall attack surface. That has increased the overall threats that are directed towards an organization, because devices which are outside of the organization have minimal or less control as compared to devices that are within your organization. So that demand in securing, protecting these devices, having some kind of regulation enforced on these devices has increased. And that is where products like Endpoint Central come in, and then they help you serve this purpose, and then they help you secure your external devices as well.
Yeah, so while you were mentioning, we have actually switched to hybrid work model now, I think, after the pandemic. Even though the pandemic is long gone, we are still seeing a bit of remote work and hybrid work model still sticking with us. So with the increase in the number of devices that's coming in and going out of the office, we are not actually glued to our desk right now, right? So what advice would you have for system administrators who are managing hybrid workforce model or remote endpoints?
So system administrators, at times they tend to ignore devices that are outside their organization. They kind of want to allow that extra liberty or flexibility for these external devices because they want to reduce their administrative overheads, right? It's always difficult to impose or release restrictions on devices that are outside your organization. So Endpoint Central can address that for you, with whether you have an on-prem device or a device which is outside your environment. Work from home, work from another country, hybrid work, all these different work cultures are now adopted, right? So Endpoint Central can offer you can either have a cloud-based deployment where you need not worry about the security. perspective about your product. And then if you have an on-prem deployment as well, you have something called as a secure gateway server, right, which helps you to secure your internal Endpoint Central server to prevent any sort of compromise. So using either of these deployment models, you can still have full end-to-end control over devices that are even outside your organization. So system admins should really consider that seriously. Managing your endpoint which is outside your organization is equally important to managing something that's inside.
Yeah, right. So my next question was about cloud. You already mentioned in your answer. So what do you think about this sudden shift towards cloud solutions? And do you see a difference in preferences in organizations towards cloud solutions rather than having on-prem solutions?
Yes, absolutely. There is a shift towards the cloud, and a lot of credit goes to the pandemic for this. So people did realize that having on-prem, completely dependent on on-prem solutions at times gives you some restrictions and limitations, right? When you are physically not able to access Office in certain conditions. So cloud has really seen an upward shift after the pandemic, especially. And especially for our region, which was a bit skeptical for cloud due to political reasons mainly, and data security reasons, right? So now now organizations are adopting the cloud. They are more comfortable, they are more confident to the cloud. Even the overall offerings, the overall flexibilities of available in cloud solutions have been increased, and that is why customers are adopting the cloud.
Yeah. So my next question would be, since you have traveled with Endpoint Central for the last 14 years, could you tell us more about what are your thoughts on how we have evolved from being a CMT to an EMT to now being in the UEM space? So what are your thoughts on that, the evolution of Endpoint Central? Basically, we have even rebranded from being Desktop Central to Endpoint Central. So what are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, I've seen Endpoint Central since in its early days, so I know that it consisted of very basic features, minimal functionalities, and at that point of time, customers would consider product like Endpoint Central, or previously was called as Desktop Central. They would consider that as a luxury product, not as a necessity. And they would think it is something for, you know, like the rich companies or companies who can afford to pay that extra buck to have these kind of solution. It wasn't something that a must, right? And it had minimal functionalities. The scope overall was very limited, right? It was limited only to a certain type of devices, certain operating systems, certain platforms. But then over the course of these years, over this period, the overall scope, the overall compatibility has been vastly increased, right? It's a very comprehensive tool offering a wide set of functionality. Also onboarding different type of platforms like tablets, phones, laptops, servers, everything under one roof. So it has evolved, and that is the reason now customers do think of it as a necessity rather than a luxury product, and it is something a must have for IT administrators to overall increase the efficiency of their services.
Right. That was wonderful explaining about the evolution. Now, speaking about Endpoint Central, what do you think about the competition in the market today, and how do you think Endpoint Central stands out, or how it is, compared to the competition right now?
Yeah, for all products, definitely you would have competition, right? But Endpoint Central stands out in, I mean, not just Endpoint Central, I would say most of the management products, or in fact all of the management products, they stand out among the rest because of their user-friendly interface, right? It's because of their simplicity. So it does offer you a lot of functionality, but at a few simple clicks without having to peruse through several articles or, admin guides. So it's simple to learn and very easy to adapt for any customer. So that is primarily what stands out. In addition to that, Manage Engine team is pretty flexible when it comes to customization, feature requests, right? They are always open to customer requests and partner requests. and that is what makes it a popular product, and that is why customers, they, some of them have favorited Manage Engine as their vendor.
Yeah, I think, as I always say, that's the beauty of Manage Engine, I guess. You have
Exactly.
every single solution into one suite, which is also flexible in terms of integrations, right?
Absolutely.
Yeah. So, my next question would be, um, what do you think about the AI, the buzz around AI? I think that's the new trending topic right now, right? So, what are your thoughts on AI, and how do you think it'll impact the endpoint management and security space in a few years now?
Uh, yeah, see, AI, everybody's talking about AI now. It's a new race in the market. All the different vendors are working on AI. Nobody wants to be left behind, right? So yeah, AI definitely, it is going to help overall in the security industry as well as the endpoint management. It basically, it works both ways. So the benefit that you can think about, as well as you can think about the cons of AI. Even attackers are going to be leveraging AI. Just the way you use it as a defense, you can also use it as an offense, right? So it goes both ways. But yeah, it's definitely, AI is going to boost the efficiency of endpoint management. It's going to automate certain tasks for you. For the administrators, it's going to reduce their root cause analysis, or problem discovery time. It's going to help in that. And overall in security as well, presently there are a ton of security products available in the market, right? And various technologies need to be implemented to fortify your infrastructure. But using AI, maybe it would ease that load from the IT administrators, from the security administrators. Maybe the count of products might go down, or maybe the overall execution time of these solutions might go down, because AI will automate a lot of things for you out of the box.
Yeah, true. So, while talking about cyber attacks, so in your 14 years of experience, have you come across any security incidents in the organizations that you work with, or were there any organizations that came to you because of a security incident? And how did you tackle that, or how did you overcome those challenges? Because you would have to, start everything from the scratch for those organizations, right? So, how was your experience there?
All organizations are constantly facing different kind of threats, right? It is just a matter of time when you might be among their prime target, or when the attack is successful for your organization, right? So definitely organizations are putting in their best efforts to implement all kind of security solutions, right? They would like to be safe from these kind of attacks. uh, some organizations do lack certain type of technologies. They have certain gaps in their infrastructure where the breach is more prominent to happen. So yes, we do have customers that have had breaches, and we have been contacted. We had engagements with them. In certain cases, we've been very successful in mitigating the threat and kind of helping them recover their entire services and data. In certain cases, we are unable to do so, right? So the best we can do is help them restore their services as they were. And then post restoration, our job is to consult them, to provide them with the missing components in their security, which led to this kind of attack, right? So that is how we help our customers to regain their business.
So, were there any specific requirements, or was there a success story of a successful implementation of a customer who had a very specific requirement or a tailor-made feature that they wanted, or requested from Endpoint Central?
Yeah, we've had a recent case where it was one of the big clients in Kuwait. They had a certain requirement. 99% of their requirements had been met by the product out of the box with no customization, but we were down to one single requirement which wasn't available directly or readily, but it was a showstopper for the customer, and that is when Endpoint Central team stepped in, and they went above and beyond, and they delivered that functionality, and then that's how we were able to win that opportunity.
We're glad to do that. I think that's what Endpoint Central is all about. We
Exactly.
are all about customizations.
Yes, absolutely.
Again, I have a follow-up question to that. How do you think Endpoint Central fits in every industry? Because we have customers from every industry possible, from retail to entertainment, healthcare, defense, government sectors, and also education institutions, and even banking and finance. So, how do you think it sits and suits well in every industry?
See, every industry does need technology, right? All organizations are now dependent on technologies, right? So whether it's computers or tablets or phones or servers, all of these platforms are supported now by Endpoint Central, and that is the reason it can fit for any organization. Secondly, because it has a distributed architecture available, that really helps organizations who have multiple offices, remote offices, geographically distributed offices, to sort of centralize their management without having to have multiple management consoles for all of those remote devices. So having all of these under the same product is really going to fit Endpoint Central into any kind of industry.
Yeah, and what would be your favorite feature in Endpoint Central? Like something that has saved your day or something that has helped you a lot with a lot of organizations?
Uh, I would say primarily it is the patch management functionality, which is the core functionality of the product. That is one of the best features. In addition to that, I also like the vulnerability and threat management module. So that really adds that extra, it goes that extra step ahead of just patch management to give you what are the additional threats or vulnerabilities that might be lurking around your infrastructure.
So Aziz, what extra value do you think Endpoint Central's new security add-on feature has added to, the customers? What are your thoughts on that?
Well, so far what I've experienced is it has been a very successful venture from Endpoint Central team to introduce this kind of functionality, because it has really cut down customers' requirements of having multiple tools down to just having Endpoint Central, right? And since Endpoint Central offers patch management, which actually falls somewhere under the security zone, right? So introducing more security features, it kind of really extends the overall capability of the product, and it's offering a lot of features which act like a bestseller, or it's I would say the USP for the product, which is lacking in the competitors. So it's easier for us to win and close deals by introducing the security add-on along with the Endpoint Central base functionality.
Cool. So, let's say my final question for you is, let's say I'm a customer or an organization that's looking to buy or invest in a UEM solution or an endpoint management and security solution. Um, so, why would you say I should choose Endpoint Central from your point of view?
Uh, from my point of view, Endpoint Central is a one-stop shop for all your IT administration needs, right? Under one console, you can have multiple functionalities, multiple of your daily routine tasks can be automated by a single click, right? So I would say in simple words that it's going to boost your efficiency tenfold than the way it's being managed right now.
So, Aziz, thank you for sharing your insights. I'm sure it would have been valuable to all of our listeners, as well as system administrators and IT admins out there. So, thank you for being here. Thank you for taking time out of your schedule in India to be here with us.
It's a pleasure.
It was wonderful having this conversation with you.
Likewise. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. And this brings us to the end of this episode. Until we meet again, this is Siuli Kingsley signing off.